and welcome to this Lighthouse Church podcast, where you can catch up on our talks from Sunday gatherings. We're a church at East Lothian, seeking to follow Jesus, build community, and make a difference.
I said to Tom as I came in this morning, every time I look across with those wellies, I think a child has fallen into that. It looks like, I kind of keep reminding it's just wellies. That's all they are. But anyway, it's good to be here. Kim and I haven't been here for the last 2 weeks, so it's good to be back. And this morning, what we're going to be continuing is the theme on communities and looking at a people who eat together. Can I just ask before we go on, who loves food? Yes. Yeah. So this topic is for you. All right, but we know that food, we need it for nourishment, for energy, and also for enjoyment. So before we head into the topic of people who eat together, I put together a very, very quick food-themed quiz. Can't say that quickly. So I know there's a lot of people that are competitive in here, so please, no violence if you get it wrong. Okay, so just quite quick. It's also kind of Scottish-themed as well. All right, so Charlie, if we can have question number 1 on the screen, please. Oh, there should be a space there. List in the highest to lowest the total number of stores in Scotland of these well-known fast food and coffee brand outlets. So there's McDonald's, Starbucks, Greggs, and Costa. So with the person next to you, you can try and figure out an answer or try and guess which one. So start with the highest to the lowest in Scotland. So McDonald's, Starbucks, Greggs, and Costa. It's the amount of outlets that there are. Yeah. There is no physical prize being handed out this morning. It's just for pride. Okay. Okay. Do you want the answers? Or shall I leave them till the end? And see how... Answers. All right, we know what Hannah's like then. Want it now? Want to know? All right. She's very competitive. Okay, so the highest number, I don't think you'd be surprised to know, is Greggs with 315. Then there's Costa with 200. And then there is Starbucks with 128. And surprise, surprise, McDonald's becomes at the bottom of the list with 115. Okay, question number 2. On the screen, please, Charlie. Irn-Bru was first sold before or after the sinking of the Titanic in 1912. Now, if you are a big Irn-Bru drinker, then there is a date on one of the kind of products they sell. So you might know this if you are a big Irn-Bru drinker. So, show of hands, who thinks before the sinking of the Titanic? Who thinks afterwards? Well, the answer is before, because it's in 1901 that Irn-Bru was first launched. Okay, question number 3. So Tunnock's Tea Cakes was created before or after the Second World War? So was it before or after 1945? Before or after 1945? Oh, okay. Who thinks before? Who thinks after? Okay, well, Tunnock's is around, I only looked on Google yesterday, I'm a Tunnock's expert. It was actually, they formed in the 1800s, but actually their tea cakes came out in 1956, so it's afterwards. So there you go, I'm a bit concerned now, because I think whatever I say about the Bible this morning, you're going to walk out going, oh, Tunnock's tea cakes, yes, and Irn-Bru, that's what we learnt at church today. Question number 4, which century was a Scottish shortbread first created? Was it the 12th century, 14th, or 16th century? Which century was Scottish shortbread first created? 12th, 14th, or 16th century? Okay, who thinks it's the 12th? Who thinks it's the 14th? Who thinks it's the 16th? Well, actually, the answer is the 12th century. Oh, yeah, you competitive bunch, aren't you? All right. Okay, so that's the kind of food link into the side of things this morning. But actually, part of our vision here at Lighthouse Community Church is over the next few years is to see multiple community groups formed and established across East Lothian that includes worship, mission, to build relationships, and obviously we want to see people come to know Jesus. And if we know anything about East Lothian, is the fact that there are a lot of people right now around us that don't yet have a relationship with Jesus. And so for us as a church, we want to see multiple communities around East Lothian and actually connecting with others and to see people come together. Now, to do that, we need to see our community groups grow by developing a culture of identifying new leaders and that same DNA running through each community. Yes, each community might have a different look or feel to it, but actually at the center is the same vision, goals, and passion to see more and more people come to know Christ. Okay, so today I want us to take us through the theme of people who eat together. And one thing, if we've learnt anything this morning, is you lot love food, all right? And you love quizzes about food, all right? But I don't want to talk exclusively about current or future community leaders, because you might be sitting in this room this morning going, well, that doesn't really include me because that's not something I feel God is leading me is to lead a community. I want to include each and every one of us, even children, young people this morning, because we need to now, right now, is to build a culture, or it's already began, but actually to increase that, of a culture of inviting and eating together. Because we can't just wait for a community down the road and go, we'll start then. We need to form it within our own within our own households and with people we're hanging out with and such like, okay? So it's about building a culture of inviting others to eat together. And simply what I want us to do first off is to kind of really just look at the why, how, what. And the first question is why? Why do we do what we do? Why is it we want to come to eat together? And the simple answer is we want to imitate what Jesus did, okay? That's as simple as that. In our lives, if we are followers of Jesus in this place today, then he is our role model. He is the one we look to, and it is him that we want to follow because he set the example ahead of us. So if we look in the scriptures, Jesus spent majority of his time with people of all backgrounds, from religious leaders to outcasts, from the wealthy to the poor. He didn't exclude anyone, okay? So some of these examples of Jesus, obviously all found in the Bible, but actually most of what I'm going to just share, the headings here, is mostly found in the book of Luke, and they are repeated in other parts of the Gospels as well. So Jesus feeds the 5,000. We can see that Jesus is surrounded by food, all right? Jesus eats in the home of Martha and Mary. Which one out of those two ladies was too distracted running around? Martha, okay? Jesus condemns the Pharisees and teachers of the law at the meal. Jesus is at a meal when he urges people to invite the poor to their meals rather than their friends. Jesus invites himself to dinner with Zacchaeus, the tax collector. And we have the account of the Last Supper when Jesus leads communion and explains through that the purpose of communion. The risen Jesus has a meal with two disciples in Emmaus, and then later eats fish with the disciples in Jerusalem. And Jesus cooks breakfast for Peter and other disciples, and this breakfast is an important one that sees Jesus restoring Peter after he denied knowing Jesus. So, if anything, there's the example time and time again of food playing a major part when Jesus is gathering with others. Okay, and what are the benefits of sitting together, eating a meal? And what I want you to do, just with the person next to you, just for a moment, is just to come up with some answers. What are the benefits of sitting together, eating a meal? Off you go. Okay. So anyone got a suggestion that they want to just shout out? That's a no. Okay. Did you come up with anything? What the benefits are? Benefits of eating together. Ladies, did you come up with anything? You bond. Yeah, very good. Yeah, you develop relationship. Any others? Oh, sorry. Time to support one another. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, Matthew, what have we got?
Sausage pasta.
You have sausage pasta. Do you know what? Yeah, that's a win. Forget about the people. Just the sausage pasta is the important thing. Okay. Lisa.
It reduces isolation.
Okay, reduces isolation. Remember those horrid days of COVID and you couldn't meet with people? That had such a big effect, didn't it, unfortunately? Okay. I mean, there's a couple of other things I've just put here. It establishes eye contact, which I think is really, really important when we're in conversations. So you're facing one another. It builds relationships and connections. That bonding together is really important. And I think sharing stories, all ages around the table. And I think it also slows things down. Okay? We're in such a rush in society these days. And slowing down is also a focal point that provides nourishment and enjoyment. And I'm sure there'll be many, many other things that we could talk about. But actually facing one another, I mean, you don't have a table at home where you face away from one another, do you? I mean, that would be really, really odd. There's a purpose of sitting around the table together. And this is what Jesus did. He spent time intentionally with people. He is modeling a way of connecting with a wide range of people across society. So he's deliberate in what he's doing, and he creates this beautiful picture of how Jesus demonstrates sitting together and eating together, says to the other person, you are important to me. I'm wanting to commit time sharing life with you. Okay? So that example, we looked at Zacchaeus several weeks ago, and in Luke 19, Jesus meets Zacchaeus. He's up a tree, Jesus on the ground, and he says in verse 6, Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for today I must stay at your house. Now that means that Jesus was inviting himself to go and spend time with Zacchaeus and eat a meal together. The fact is that conversation could have just ended at the bottom of the tree and just say, Jesus could have said, I need to move on. But no, he saw something about the fact that I need to spend time with this guy, this Zacchaeus, a tax collector who's like, boo in society, all right? But Jesus deliberately spends time with them, and that really annoyed the religious leaders, okay? What a difference that Jesus spent several hours rather than several moments, okay? So how do we do it, okay? So it starts with an invitation, but this can automatically be a barrier for us as we start to think, who do we invite, and what happens if they say the dreaded word, no, okay? A simple solution to this is to simply pray and ask God to direct you through this, okay? And if you invite someone and they say no, don't take offense, okay? Go again and invite them at another time. Obviously, give a few minutes before you invite again, all right? Don't start nagging, all right? Other barriers could be that you feel you're a terrible cook. Anyone a terrible cook? No, don't put your hand up. All right. Too late. Financially, you can't afford it to buy the food for more people to come round. Simply could be that you don't have enough room in your house. Okay, there can be many, many barriers to why it's difficult to invite others around. But can I encourage you to not overthink it, as there's many ways around this, okay? It's suddenly gone very silent. All right. It could just include the fact that if you can't meet at your house, it could be we could meet somewhere for a coffee. All right, so it's a culture of taking Jesus into places where we are in our day-to-day. And I want to say to our children and young people, you can invite people too. Obviously, don't just invite people and don't tell your parents, okay? But actually, in your school, at lunchtime, do you eat together? Sorry? Yeah. So at school, you eat together, yeah? Oh, right, okay. All right. But you eat with people around you, yeah? That's what you do, yeah? Yeah, okay. That's we got to that point. That's good. All right? So, when you're at school, You could invite people that may be a little bit on the outside of your friendship group to eat together and spend time together in that way. So there's many ways that you can build and connect like Jesus did. So one of the things that the community that we run, that Kim and I run, this was an idea that Kim had, in a sense, felt really God leading to this, which was the community that would be talking about tri-church. And where we live on an estate, so there's many, many people. But like these things, when you live on an estate, there's a lot of the time where you don't see people. They seem to hibernate, okay? And so that's what neighbours would tell us. They never see people. And so Kim had this idea of tri-church, and the idea was once a month, gather together for brunch, and Kim would set out a very, very short talk about Jesus. There'd be some like prayer station kind of ideas, and the whole idea was to sit together and build friendship. Some of our neighbours said yes, some said no, but that's really established itself as having brunch together, and actually we've really got to know a couple of our neighbours. Some of those neighbours are currently doing the Alpha course that we're running as well. And through that is that increasingly we're talking more about Jesus. Not lobbing Jesus at them, but actually just gently, time over time, is just kind of nurturing. Actually, let's talk about faith. Let's talk about Jesus in this, okay? And so, actually, as we do that, and just to say an example, bringing food, that's a new word, food, but bringing food is actually, our group insists that we should have jacket potatoes every week. But we don't supply it all, people contribute. So that's another way that you can find a creative way of solution, is that people contribute in providing food. The purpose is to sit together. Because what are the results that we'd like to see? And just begin to kind of land this, is storytelling happens around the table. Okay, storytelling is one of the big things that has come out in our prayer gatherings, in the life of this church. That actually, it's something that we want to see more and more of. So those encouraging stories that Hannah got us to share at the beginning, all right? What does storytelling do? It builds faith. It encourages us. It stirs us up. And actually, we can see that God is doing things across the week that we may not get to see or hear. Okay, so storytelling happens around the table. It can also have a positive impact on your children. So if you have children, it enriches them, and they get to hear stories from other people and possibly other cultures. And as I was preparing this, I remembered that quite a number of years ago, our 3 children, when they were obviously much younger, would get to meet lots of different people from different nations. And one Sunday, we had around 15 people come around for a buffet lunch, and they were represented from, I think, Zimbabwe, Nigeria, South Africa, Malawi. They didn't just deliberately come from different countries in Africa just to come for lunch, all right? They were part of the church that we were going to, all right? But lots of nations. And so you're sitting around the table, and your children are getting exposed to kind of different stories as well. So yes, it can be nerve-wracking, but it can be really, really exciting and enriching, and it builds a culture for children to say that's being modelled, that's what we can do as well, okay? And we want to see those multiple communities across East Lothian, because that's what Jesus did, is spend time with people. It creates a culture that love to eat together, and it goes to a long way to make such a difference in so many lives. So, what's the name, actually, of the Thursday recovery group now? The Lighthouse Family Meal. So they were a recovery group, and they were asked what name they would like to come up with. And that's the name they came up with. And the simple reason is because they feel accepted. There's a culture here of actually, we enjoy being here, and we know there's something different about this place. And that's what we want to see increasingly happen within the life of the church. So, can I have the questions on the screen, please, Charlie? So, I want to encourage each one of us. I know some of us here are quite an introverted person. We can be limited by finances. There can be lack of space in your home. But God can still use you to introduce others to community and turn people towards Jesus, okay? So don't limit God, but instead ask him to help you to be creative or show you the way that you can be hospitable and to eat together. And these are the questions that when you do, okay? So, with the exception of Jesus, because that would be the easy answer, which person in the Bible do you love to spend time talking over a meal with? Okay. Question 2, are there barriers that currently prevent you from inviting others to eat with you? Okay. And then question 3, it's not really a question, Actually, instead, it's action, which is to pray together that God will give you wisdom, boldness, and creativity to invite others to eat with you, because we want to follow Jesus' example. So you can top up with coffee. Hannah is going to run up now and or just walk and just share about the different activities, and you can mix around with other tables as well. Hannah.